the LELA podcast once again, ladies and gentlemen. The only intent of mine is to have good friends, colleagues, and those people who have had some very good experiences of living life per se. On today's show, I have someone I've been knowing for at least a decade, right? Right, Priyanka? I think more than a decade. Perfect. I think makes more sense to allow her to speak because I can be a motor mouth at some time. But hi, Priyanka, welcome to the show, and you're joining us all the way from Brisbane, correct?
hmm And it's already 11 p.m. in my time zone.
Okay, but yeah, I know. I think a couple of time zones here and there, but we can always take time out to say hello. Thanks so much for joining the show.
hmm
I know we've got a lot to speak, and I think just before we started this recording, I'd mentioned that this has been a baby of mine, which I've birthed somewhere late or early last year. So I've completed a decent amount of episodes, and the entire concept is LELA, which is life experiences, learning, and amazement. And I think from a life and experience standpoint, you've had a wonderful past 9-10 months. So why don't you go ahead and share it with everyone? Of course, let's start with life. Give us a quick background, and then we'll take this conversation ahead. Right?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's a again an amazing experience. I think to be in this podcast with you. Thank you for inviting me as a guest. I have been listening to your podcasts before, and I used to keep wondering that what an
Oh, you
amazing job you do.
oh, you've
In
actually heard a few, right? Oh, thanks. As long as it grabs some eyeballs, thank you.
Definitely. I mean, I really become so intrigued by listening to those ideas and topics from your guests as well, and the way the conversations become like a smooth sail. So they're very enjoying, basically.
Thank you. I mean, at least it shows that I'm doing a decent job. Thanks. Okay, so let's start with the first L, which is life. So why don't you go ahead, Priyanka? Of course, for the audience, I'll tell you that I and Priyanka met in Pune, and we hit off like a pack of cards and wildfire, to be honest. And we've known each other for, yeah, I think we've touched the 11-year mark. That is brilliant. And I think people would still like to know, Priyanka, as a technical writer, how did you start? Maybe maybe what you've done 15, 20 years ago, and what made you take the jump to Australia?
Well, to answer that, I would say I've always been a writer. I've always been writing since the time I was admitted in the school by my parents.
Oh, writer by heart forever. Yeah, got it. Okay.
Yeah, you can say that. And I don't know how did this happen. I mean, it wasn't intentional. I was just going with the flow. I have been a sports player as well. I've
Okay.
been a table tennis player since my school days.
Oh
So
yeah, I remember you beating me once in table tennis, royally bad. Yeah, correct. Yeah, good on. Yeah,
okay, I
and
don't
there was also
remember.
air hockey, right? There was also air hockey which you played. But yeah, that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah, I think so because I hardly can recall that day. So
Okay.
yeah, but yeah, coming back to the point that I've been a writer, probably a creative writer at the first instance, but then I dabbled into technical writing, and I'm glad. I love technology, and I still do. I keep upskilling myself, learning about something new or the other, and the journey is still going on.
Yeah, so
So
I think a lot of conversations around AI these days, right? Artificial
yeah,
intelligence, machine learning.
hmm definitely, and it's really making a lot of waves in Australia as well, in their process of becoming more adept in their defense as well. So the government is taking a lot of measures. But yeah, my journey of coming to Brisbane, Australia, is an equal interesting story.
Of course. And if you could quickly tell us that, because I'm sure a lot of people are aspirational from a career standpoint, so it'll help them also.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, I would love to give those details. And the journey actually started around 2019, and we just casually started to look for our options, basically, wherever they can, be fulfilled, be it probably Canada or Australia. But it was actually an option given by my partner's employer at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, that they wanted him to be based either in America or maybe in Canada and or Australia.
Or Australia.
Yeah. So they were moving into real estate, and they wanted him to move into a country of their choice, especially the US at that time. But somehow that did not culminate, and we eventually landed in Australia, and we came as permanent residents.
Oh, nice. Okay, so one thing led to another, and in a matter of 3 years, I think year and a half, right? That you ended up in Australia.
Yep, in 2019. Yeah.
So it's been 4.5, 5 fulfilling years.
Yep, and probably by this end of this year, we will become citizens.
Congratulations for that. I mean, it's quite a journey, whirlwind, if I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
I think during these 5 years, there have been some experiences, especially you and your partner becoming parents, and you taking up the mantle of a new mom. I just noticed that in your description. So, number one, congratulations. I think it's a surreal experience to be a mother, to be a parent, of course, especially lifting a toddler in your arms. So, walk us through that. I'm sure it was challenges galore, or was it an easy ride?
It was a mix of two.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And it's a new experience for any woman who's going through the stages of pregnancy, and the joy of having to lift their own baby.
Correct.
is just another otherworldly experience, actually.
Otherworldly, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, it's a good one actually. Right, so that I think those 9-10 months, and I'm not an expert, but I'll still try to construct some decent questions, and I hope you give some very nice introspective answers. So walk us through the entire process. I mean, I've been hearing something known as a birthing plan and whatnot. So, were you guys prepared? Was it part of the entire 5-year journey? And how did it start? And whenever it started, were you guys ready?
We actually were not ready. I mean, we had something like this on our minds, that we might have a baby soon, or maybe a little later, because we just had landed in this country, and
Correct.
it's been 7 years of our marriage, but we never actually planned anything like a schedule, like how the semester-wise or the quarter-wise plannings happen in corporates.
So you didn't approach this like a business. So I get your point.
Yeah, I mean, we both are so busy in our jobs and work and everything else around that we did have it on our minds, but it just happened, and we are glad that it happened.
I'm sure, because I see a separate smile on your face, so I'm sure you're very happy because of that. But I'm sure it was divided into phases, right? Prenatal, postnatal. There are a lot of challenging periods or months. So how was prenatal for you?
Yeah, so there were definitely a lot of challenges, especially at the last trimester.
Okay.
I would say that the initial months, by like almost 6 or 7 months, were pretty much smooth.
Okay.
And there was a lot of help around me as well. My mother had already come, and she was able to help me with the cooking, especially. because with the weight gain and the bulging of the tummy, it was really difficult.
Okay.
So yeah, I had that help, but later on at the end, there were a lot of those conditions in my body that it used to be a challenge throughout the day for me.
Correct.
Yeah. For example, I mean, I can recall that. Have you heard about the carpal tunnel syndrome before?
Yeah, something to do with the wrists, right? If I'm not wrong.
So it just developed during my last trimester of my pregnancy, and it was really very painful at that time because with the extra weight gain and the changed shape of the body and the other odd aches and pains were really making it so difficult for me to move myself throughout the day. And the carpal tunnel syndrome still occurs.
Still
in my
occurs.
life. Yes. It's still so bothersome that, especially in the mornings, because my hands stay in the same position throughout the night, the pain becomes even worse. So, yep,
So you're
my
saying it's been
GP.
over a year that you're having carpal tunnel syndrome and it
Yeah, you
just
can say that.
doesn't subside.
No, not an year or so, but I would say in the last trimester or so,
Last trimester. So it's like
and till
5,
now.
okay, 6, 7 months. Whoa.
Hmm. And did I mention heartburn?
Huh.
That
Heartburns.
was another evil that was, plaguing me. I don't know how and why this was happening with me. Probably it was the hormones, and it's so unique that these conditions come up uh, during pregnancy for every woman. That
Okay.
for me it was heartburn. It was not morning sickness or anything,
Mhm.
but the heartburn every night during the last trimester was painful. I mean, even if I had a glass of water with no meals, it would still come up, and I had to have some sort of a medicine. We have Gelusil like in India.
Jealous of it. Correct. Correct.
I had to take that every night to sleep, actually.
So, so I'm assuming your diet had gone for a toss because you're now eating for 2 people. Is
No,
that the
not
case?
exactly. I mean, this is what people in India say, that you are eating for two, but in
Two.
fact, you should be eating exactly the way you are. It's just that your diet changes, it becomes much more nutritious.
Much more nutritious is what you say.
Yeah.
Okay. And any, of course, you did mention about the heartburns, but did it? How was it here? The stress. Was there any stress?
There was, definitely. I mean, I would not agree with any woman saying that there was no stress. That stress is always there. And if it's not during the earlier months, it definitely develops during the last months or so, when you are not able to identify yourself. There is a point in your whole pregnancy journey that your whole body changes. Your whole look changes. You're not able to understand. I mean, you are definitely able to understand and relate why is this happening to you, but then you're not able to digest that how soon you're going to come back to your shape, the original shape. What if
Original
you
shape.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions coming up in your mind. And what if you don't? What if you just stay the way you are right now?
Correct.
Right? So it's
Okay.
scary. It's scary for a lot of those people who are really into looks and everything. Yeah, but
Correct.
I mean, I'm not talking about myself. I've never been like that, you know that. So
Look, it's okay if you are also. That's everyone has their own whims and fancies and whatnot.
yeah. I'm just trying to recall what sort of thoughts I had in my mind at that time, and there were thoughts that there were thoughts of regret. Sometimes it's called as antenatal depression. I mean, I never knew that name before at that time, but now,
Antenatal is what you're saying? Correct. Oh,
yes, yeah,
okay. That's
it's
a
the
term.
opposite. Yeah, it's the opposite of postnatal.
Postnatal. Okay.
So this is the depression that comes up during the pregnancy phase. It can come up before, it can come up later, but it does happen to an extent.
Wow. Okay. So that's stressful for you, I'm assuming, and is that stressful for the forming baby also, I think, to an extent.
It's not a lot of stress for the baby as long as you are able to identify it.
Identify it.
You are
Correct.
able to have solutions for it, and you are able to tackle it.
Talking
Right?
about tackle. So, how did you? Was it because of people around you? Were you coached by someone? Was the medical fraternity around? I mean, tell us about that.
Definitely. I mean, I would say that Australia has a very robust medical system here, especially for pregnant women.
Okay.
And they have a very good system where a lot of these people, like GPs, the midwives, and doctors, come in handy, and they are able to help people out in such situations where a lot of them are alone, in fact, and they are doing this all by themselves.
All by themselves is what that's what you're saying.
So there are a lot of single parents, like single mothers,
Oh
who
yeah, correct.
are becoming mothers for the first time,
First.
and they do a very good job here when it comes to these situations. For example, in my case, my GP had transferred me to the hospital at some point. So all
Okay.
of my scans and my medical vital tests and visits were happening in the hospital directly. And I went to a public hospital here, Mater Mothers, and they
Okay.
are very good. In fact, when I went through all of their cases, and beforehand, the way you educate yourself and research about how their system is, so I found it pretty much strong, and I would say they are good at their job.
I'm sure there's I think they're dealing with tens and thousands of expecting mothers on a regular basis. So they have to be very good at your job.
I mean, they did a commendable job. I never expected this to work in a public hospital the way they did, and it was way better than a private hospital does.
So support at every step is what you're saying. Nice.
I would say emotionally as well.
Emotionally as well. Okay.
I mean, they are happy to refer you to a psychologist. They are happy to refer you to other radiology centers whenever whenever it is required, and those scans at some points are free. So
Free. Okay.
yeah, a lot of those things are free here, and they are borne by the government.
Fantastic. So, all right. So, this was probably antenatal, is what you're saying. So, 24
And
hours before. Sorry, you were saying? Yeah.
antenatal, not anti.
Antenatal. Nice. Okay. So, how about tell us the period 24 hours before giving birth and maybe 24 hours after? I think there was a lot of anxiety there.
Definitely. I mean, I had a brief period of anxiety and depression before as well, because coming into a new country has its own share of challenges, right?
Share of challenges. True.
To face a lot of new things in a whole new situation where you don't know what to expect. So I did develop my share of that stress within me, which did affect me, and I had a mild depression as well for some time. And you know that we spoke about it as well.
Yeah, I recall. Yeah.
So just after that, I think this phase started in my life where a lot of other physical changes were happening as well inside me.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, everything was so new, and I couldn't put a name to it, whatever that was happening. So when my contractions actually started, it was, I think, 2 days before of the delivery date, that I was out shopping for the baby, and I was still in my nesting phase where I was just accumulating everything related to my baby, be it clothes, be it toiletries, be it toys, or whatever. So
So, what do you name that? Nesting phase, huh? Oh, that's a
yeah,
cute name.
yep. So I mean, it just started with a tingle, and I thought that probably it's just whatever that's happening inside my body, that it's gonna subside probably at the end of the day, or maybe I'll just pop in a paracetamol or a painkiller and it would be okay.
Okay.
By the way, taking a paracetamol is fine during
Yeah, I know.
pregnancy.
Anything, any antibiotic during that time is a concern. True, true.
But as long as you're doing it in a controlled way, it's not going to be bothersome
Bothersome.
to the baby as well.
Mhm.
Right. So coming back, I was out shopping. I was with my mom, and I just didn't even pay any attention to it.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just came back home and I was okay, had my dinner, slept a little bit. And the very next day, I realized that the pain had actually increased, and it almost felt like, you know, how it feels during the first day of your periods, that there is that pain which
Oh, okay.
starts.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I was a person who usually would just take a pill and just start with my job. And I
Right.
was working at that time, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I remember. You were,
Yeah.
of course. This is
Hmm.
well, you weren't in the maternity phases. Is that the thing?
I didn't start with my maternity leave at that
Oh, you
time.
didn't start. Okay. All right.
Right. So I was out shopping. I came back, and the very next morning, I just felt that the pain had increased, and I thought, let's just take a paracetamol. It would help, and that's what I did. And surprisingly, it didn't work.
Oh,
And I thought that might take another one, but then I stopped myself. That why to start taking the pills like that
right now.
recklessly.
Sure.
So the pain just kept increasing, and it came in waves. And at that moment, I realized that okay, something is happening now, and I should be attentive to it basically, and not be scared. The whole
So
point is
you
to
had your
be.
strength systems around you, right? I think your
Yeah,
mother was around you, your partner, correct?
yeah. My mother was like, "Okay, this is the time and the moment which has arrived now. We just need to rush to the hospital and admit her, and probably the baby will be out by the end of the day today."
Oh wow. Okay, all excited.
Yeah, mom was so excited, and we didn't even prepare the hospital bag as well by that time. So we thought that probably we are just going unprepared, and we'll just see whatever happens there. Now we were on the second day now, that the pain had really become worse, and we decided to go to the hospital. And I was also under this impression that this is how it works, you know, even in India as well, that as soon as the pain starts, the woman gets admitted, or the patient gets admitted
Right,
in the
right.
hospital. But strangely, and I mean, not strangely anymore, but at that time, unknowingly, I was not admitted. I was just sent back home.
Oh, false alarm.
Um, yeah, I mean, you can say that.
Yeah, false alarm for them, not for
For,
you.
yeah, not for me, because I was in a lot of pain for sure.
Correct, correct.
And I knew what the reason behind it, but they
Yeah,
said that
of
it's too
course.
soon and you haven't started to dilate. And
Dilate.
yes, so you need to go back home, just relax, take a hot bag, or maybe watch a movie on Netflix and just be calm and be in your comfortable surroundings for the time being. I said, okay, I made a face and came back home. I couldn't do anything beyond that. So,
I don't. That's true.
yeah, I mean, um, and came back and just applied whatever they had suggested, and it did not work for me.
Okay. That's also an irritable phase, right?
It is. It is. I mean, it is so it's a lot of discomfort
Yeah.
when you are in a pain and you know that there is no medication that can help you, and
Correct.
you cannot do anything about it.
yeah, nothing's in your hands. You are at 100% at the disposal of the midwife or the medical fraternity.
Exactly. You just know this for the fact that the next part is to be in the hospital and start with the process, and that's it. But you don't know when that process is going to start or how soon, basically.
Yeah, it's a variable that you have no control on. Correct.
Yeah. So the second day passes, and
Mm,
the whole night I am just tossing and turning
of course, of course.
in my bed,
Mm.
and my partner is equally worried, and he's also not sleeping, definitely, because I'm not letting him sleep.
Yeah, we are into this together. You have to keep reminding him. God's
No,
sakes. Yeah.
because I'm so loud and not screaming exactly, but just expressing
Okay.
my annoyance that
Annoyance. That's great. Mm.
and frustration, definitely cursing the hospital staff that why didn't they just admit me in the
True.
hospital and just let me be there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
When did it finally happen? When did it finally happen?
it happened finally on the third day, which was 9th of January, around 7 or 8 in the morning. And that's when it became so unbearable that I had to rush to the hospital. And I was ready this time that this time I wouldn't go back home. And if they do send me back home, I'm gonna make a scene. And I had
Correct.
already started to do that. I already started to, raise my voice a little at that time, expressing my displeasure of just, of what was happening, and I was not being catered to the way I
Catered.
should have been. So it didn't make any sense for them at that time because it was usual for them to.
They've been doing this forever, right? Correct.
They just checked my vitals and they asked me to wait again there for I think almost 4 hours.
4 hours.
Yeah. So I was just waiting in the waiting room probably with my partner and my wife. What am I saying? With my partner and mother.
Mother.
Yeah. And my mother was just wondering that what are they doing? Are they even good at it? And how are they gonna help me out in this whole
Right.
situation? Are they even,
She's
know?
just being a mother. She's just being a
Yeah,
mother.
yeah. That what's gonna happen? She became worried at that time then.
Okay.
But yeah, when the time came, I was shifted to the labor room, and when I was getting shifted there, I was making up my mind now that this is it. That this is the moment
It
now.
happens today. It happens today, right now.
Yeah. I mean, it has to happen today. I mean, I
has to
didn't want to linger it and keep going on with the pain and the push and the this and that. I mean, I just wanted it to be out, basically.
And it popped, is what you're saying.
Yes. And she arrived, and yeah, and that whole process in itself is another story.
Another story, is it? Okay. Okay, then hold that thought. Why don't you tell us the entire story of she coming into existence and you holding her in your arms in the next episode? We'll probably start with the happiness and the glee associated. And in all this, where was your partner? I hope he was around with you.
Of course. Where would you think he was?
Yeah, he might as well be. I know, very important phase.
He was right there in the labor
Oh, right.
room with
That's
me.
heartening to hear because a lot of men I've heard they become unconscious. So I'm glad to see that our man's tough.
No, he's actually scared of looking at blood.
Okay.
He, I think, doesn't have the stomach to look at it.
Okay.
So when it's actually so gruesome,
Yeah, it
during
can
that
be.
time, he really was really strong.
So I'm assuming he got strong because he was looking at you because you are the strongest of them all. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I proved it at that time by going through this process and having the vaginal um, process of delivery.
process. Mhm.
Yeah,
So
unlike
you,
which I didn't think about it before.
so
Yeah,
probably you need a pat on your back for that.
I did. I literally started to trust myself and my body, which I was doubting before, as I had initially thought about going for an epidural and
Epidurals.
and
Okay.
not go through the pain actually.
Okay. All right. So let's continue this in the next one because you've been so kind to elaborate the pre-birth process. So let's elaborate the post-birth process
Hmm.
in the next one.
Hmm.
And I hope we have a bigger smile than you have one right now, as you describe she coming into existence.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this, and thank you for being so elaborate and open through the entire process. And for everyone watching, this is just part one. We'll be back with part two because there's a lot to smile about because everything after that is absolutely brilliant. Thanks, Priyanka.
Thanks, Abhishek. It was a pleasure being here.
Same here, same here. And we'll be back soon. Till then, keep watching the LELA podcast.